This is Ryan at SFS, showing you how to attract and recruit A-plus candidates in the toughest markets. In case you haven't heard of me, I am the founder of sevenfigurestaffing.com, where we have helped dozens and dozens of wildly successful staffing and recruiting entrepreneurs build 7- and 8-figure businesses. Prior to starting our thriving consultancy, I started an agency called Lecour Group, which grew to 7 figures in 7 months and was purchased by a much larger agency 2 years later. Before that, I was a permanent placement expert in some of the world's most difficult niches, and I was able to crack the code for attracting extremely high value A-plus candidates and became the top perm recruiter at the largest worldwide recruiting agency within 2 months of starting there. And here's what I found through all of those experiences: when it comes to working in recruiting niches where talent is extremely difficult to come by and difficult to attract, it's extremely important to be a consultant. And I'll have to explain to you exactly what that means. Obviously, it's not clear just from that statement alone. The type of niches that we're talking about here are ones in which candidates actually do not need you. It's not like they need a recruiter to get a good job. They could probably send their resume out to 10 different companies and get 10 different job offers. And as recruiters, these are the types of people that we want to attract. They're the people that don't need us. So now you're asking yourself, why would they work with us then? Are we just tricking them into working with us? And the answer is no. It's not a trick. Even though they don't technically need us, we can still provide value to them. We can still be their consultant. High value people have coaches and consultants. They leverage other people's time. Remember that these types of candidates are already too busy to be worried about the job market. They don't have time to be researching companies all day. They don't have time to be sending out their resumes. They don't want to go to job application websites and fill out all of the information that's already on their resume. High value people have no time for that. Instead, what they would prefer to do is outsource their job search and outsource their networking to somebody that they can trust. And given that this is the case, it's all about which consultant actually wins those sweepstakes. Will it be you? Will it be somebody else? When I was really in the trenches and at the peak of my individual desk billings, I would hear the following a lot of times from candidates when I was really at the top of my game. Here's what they would say: after I talked to you, I didn't bother calling back the other recruiter. So if you hear this, you're doing something right. You're starting to learn how to play the game the right way. And this is exactly what we want to hear. Now, this obviously means I was able to do a few things. I was able to establish trust with the candidate. The candidate believed I was connected to all the career opportunities that they could possibly want. The candidate believed that I had the skills to manage them and represent them through the negotiation and offer process with prospective companies that they would be interested in. So how did I get there? And how can you get there? How can you get to the point where surefire placements, people that you can place 100% of the time at pretty much any relevant company, are only interested in working with you and no one else? Well, of course, that's what I'm going to tell you about here. Rule number 1 is no dollar signs in the eyes. Okay, what do I mean by that? If a candidate believes deep down that you are only in this to make a quick deal, the only way that they would work with you is if the stars perfectly align on the perfect opportunity that you happen to have for them. But here's the problem. You're actually going to have the perfect opportunity a relatively low percentage of the time. And for all of those times that you don't have it, you can't afford to just be losing high value candidates. You have to have some way to keep them and continue to work with them even when you don't have the perfect thing for them. You still have to establish and maintain a consulting relationship with them. You still need to be their consultant. You still need to be their job market oracle and advisor. So how do we do this? We make it about them first. We don't make it about their qualifications. We don't make it about that one client you're desperately hoping you can convince them to work for. Sure, you're going to get around to pitching a job to them, but first we have to make sure that we believe that it's a match before we even get around to talking about the job. We should never talk about a specific opportunity until we know it's a potential match and a step in the right direction for the candidate. Therefore, we should be pulling the plug just as much as we are trying to plug. We should be pulling away just as much as we are trying to sell. Yes, recruiting is a sales game, but good sales is not pitching all the time. Good sales is consulting. And consulting is more than pitching. Consulting is also knowing when to say no. It's knowing when to express your doubts. It's knowing when to say, yes, I have an opportunity, but actually I don't think it's necessarily the right fit for you, and here's why. So contrast this with the recruiter who just pitches all the time. Contrast this with a recruiter who's just always trying to sell a candidate into a job regardless of what the candidate says, feels, or what their motivations are. When you're pulling an opportunity away just as much as you're selling, you build trust. You demonstrate that it's not all just about making a quick buck. Instead, it's about making a good match. It's about ensuring that you're leaving everyone better off than how you found them. Rule number 2, never pitch just one opportunity. Let's say you're trying to find candidates for this one client that you have. The temptation is going to be to just cling for dear life to candidates and say anything you can to convince them to take this job at this one client that you have, and you seriously have to resist this temptation. As a job market consultant, you are not just connected to one opportunity. You have to be connected to all opportunities some way, somehow. And this is what you have to telegraph in your messaging. By working with you, the candidate will suddenly become connected to every opportunity they could possibly want or need. Because remember, having a client is not the only way that you can connect talent with opportunities. Technically, you can market talent to any opportunity in the workforce. And so this has to be the belief at the foundation of your initial messaging outreach to any candidate. This also has to be the belief at the foundation of your initial conversations with the candidate. The pitch that you make is not a pitch about one job right off the bat. The pitch is about a number of career opportunity ideas and the limitless potential that comes from working with you. This is how we have to anchor the interest of every high value candidate. Once a candidate believes there is inherent value in being connected to you, then you can ask them anything you want. Now you can make it about them. And this is what I recommend you do. Resist the temptation to just pitch a job in that first message or in the first outreach or on the first call. Instead, start out by pitching opportunity in general and then work on narrowing down what that looks like for this specific candidate. In other words, pitching one opportunity has to be done in 2 steps. So step 1 is about learning about the candidate and about their motivations and how they need to be sold. It's about learning their reasons for change. It's about learning about who they are and what makes them tick. It's about learning their family situation, learning their location situation. It's about learning about their hopes and dreams and where they see themselves in the foreseeable future. It's about learning what kind of compensation structure makes sense for them. You have to understand where they are now, where they want to be, where they see themselves, and what's really important to them. If you're playing the game right, it should almost never be the candidate telling you that they're not interested in an opportunity. Instead, you should learn so much about them that you should be telling them that they're not interested in an opportunity. This is how to be a consultant. You are the one who decides who fits where in the job market. It doesn't make any sense for candidates to decide. You simply have to gather all the information so that you can make this decision. Upon gathering all of the information, you can conclude step 1 and let the candidate know that you will respect their time and only contact them when you have an opportunity that is worth their time to hear about. Remember that they've had their time wasted by recruiters in many cases over and over again, and they've often grown to distrust recruiters. So you're not going to be like those other recruiters. You're not going to waste their time. You're only going to contact them when you have the right thing. So that concludes step 1, and that should conclude your first call with them. When you're in a super difficult niche, you should almost never pitch the opportunity you have on that first call. Instead, take all this information away and debrief with yourself. Now's the time to form a game plan. Your game plan is for step 2. So part 1 of your game plan is first deciding whether or not it's even worth pitching your opportunity to this candidate. Is this the right opportunity for them? You have to make that decision. If it's not the right opportunity for them, then don't pitch it. If you believe in your heart of hearts that you do not have the right job for them right now, then don't say anything about what you have. Instead, build a marketing plan to market this talent to the right hiring managers who have the right opportunities. Now you can leverage this talent to get new clients. clients. If you decide that you do have an opportunity that could potentially be a match, now it's time to leverage all of the information that you have gathered. It's time to match up what you have learned about the candidate's hopes, dreams, motivations, and the features of the job opportunity that you have. You have to design your pitch. So now let's just back up a second. This all assumes that you know all the selling features of the company and the role that you have to pitch. So it all starts with doing a proper synchronization call with the hiring managers. One of the things that you have to be asking the hiring managers about are the selling features of the role. You can't sell the car without knowing about the bells and the whistles. But it's about more than just bells and whistles. It's about people. It's about culture. It's about compensation. It's about growth opportunity. It's about duties and responsibilities. It's about the location, the commute, the community. A lot of times hiring managers are not the best at selling their own companies and selling their own opportunities. So you have to be adept at drawing this information out of them. A lot of times it has to be asked in a number of different ways. When I ask about selling features of an opportunity in a company, I often ask it in about 3 to 5 different ways. I might say, what are the selling features of the role? What are some of the exciting things about the company and the future of the company? What are your favorite things about the culture? And then I might say, think about the employees that have been there the longest. What do you think it is that keeps them satisfied at XYZ company for so long? What sort of role do you see this person growing into in upcoming months and years? What are some of the compensation perks that sometimes don't get talked about? What are some really interesting things about the company that we wouldn't see in the news or in the headlines or on the website or in the job advertisement? What are some other things that we should know that we might not find in the job advertisements or in the notes that you've already given to us? What is it that really draws people to the area, and why do people like living in the area where the job is located? You got to think of yourself almost like a travel guide who has to showcase the unique features and attractions in the local environment. You could go on and on with questions that should continue to shed light on things that you can say that make this opportunity exciting. And now you can literally match each one of them up with what you've learned about the candidate. So when you're pitching the role, it has to be extremely methodical when it comes to selling the features and the benefits. But it's not all selling. It's also about addressing the red flags. Don't shy away from doing this. You continue to build trust and anchor the candidate's interest when you're very upfront about what concerns you in their candidacy. At the same time that you're selling the opportunity, you also want to be gently pulling it away by having the candidate address the red flags and assuring you about why those red flags are not a problem. So when you take this approach with consulting candidates, it doesn't matter as much when your job is not a fit. What you're doing is leaving the door open for the future with every high value candidate. And in particularly difficult niches, you can make the game about getting candidates before getting clients. Because frankly, in these niches where getting candidates is really the hard part, you might as well do that first. Why bother getting the clients if you already know that any company essentially would be interested in one of these great candidates? So this is the case with highly specialized niche industries, with highly educated professionals. When you get a good one, you're going to find that there are tons of organizations that would move heaven and earth to hire them. So you might as well get the candidate first and use that to get the client. So from a high level, that's the approach in these difficult niches. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts and questions. Please leave a comment below with your thoughts. You can also shoot me an email at ryan@sevenfigurestaffing.com to discuss more specifics of this strategy.